Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here, another edition of Off the Top Rope. I know what the narrative is going to be about this WrestleMania, this first night, WrestleMania Saturday from Las Vegas. Um, let's be real, and I said this in the build-up. Let's temper our expectations a little bit. Like we got spoiled last year. Um, I could totally see the scenario of Mania Night 1 from Las Vegas, WrestleMania 41, as a one-match show because there was really only one spectacular match on this night. A lot of mid to okay and some pretty, superb stuff. Like LA Knight, like up until the main event, LA Knight and Jacob Fatu and El Grande Americano against Ray Phoenix were probably the two, at least from a wrestling perspective, that at least had some level of heat to them that actually made some sense. I mean, Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte, it was fine. The right person won. I was more happy that Tiffany won. Jade Naomi was good, but not anything like outwardly spectacular. Jade's gotten a lot better in the ring. Jey Uso winning the world championship from Gunther. I know a lot of people are mad that Gunther tapped out too quickly. It was a good piece of business. Jay using Gunther's best shot to beat him. It was really good stuff. War Raiders New Day shouldn't have been on this show. It shouldn't have. Like, they should have put the TLC match on it. But my theory is or you could say I have an Austin theory because he's not there anymore. I have a theory here that, I think WWE took a look at this, and if you take a look at the way that they built this card and the way that they built this show, their attention was really on the bigger matches of this show. And those are the main events, which are CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns, which was the main event. And I think it's one of the best triple threats. I think it's one of the best WWE matches. I think it's one of the best WrestleMania matches. Any accolade that you could come through, that's as good of a match as I've ever seen on this stage, any stage, anywhere. It's one of the best wrestling matches ever with a shock twist ending. Just so much great stuff from beginning to end, from entrances and hype packages to the end of the match and Seth Rollins walking out with Paul Heyman. That was as good as it is. And, maybe WWE in the way that their thinking process is like, okay, we're not going to blow everybody away. We know that this is going to be a long night. We don't want to, drown out this crowd. And we want to make sure that they are fully in on the end of this show. And they put all their eggs into the basket and basically said, Punk, Seth, Roman, bring us home and give us an all-timer. And they did that. So this narrative, like in some ways, people may say that this night reminds them of WrestleMania 25. If you guys remember WrestleMania 25, that main event was shit. It was helped by the Shawn Michaels Undertaker match. So maybe that's the way we look at it. But one thing I will, and you guys know who have ridden with me since the beginning, in a lot of ways, you're only as good as your last match. AEW's had a couple terrible main events to close out their pay-per-views. Meanwhile, WWE ended their show. They've ended their last two premium live events with Elimination Chamber with that spectacular ending with John Cena turning heel, and then this whole thing at the end with a double betrayal by Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins turning heel and aligning himself with Paul Heyman. Like, that's all-time stuff, and that's why we love this. Yes, would I have liked to have had a better top-to-bottom show than we got? Of course. Of course. We always want more better matches. But again, it's not like there was so many things that were completely, and there was nothing really terrible on this show. Everything was just kind of there. It was just kind of there. Like I said, Jay Gunther was fine. It was a great moment, and that's what you go for to WrestleMania, the moments. Like I said, I was really let down by New Day War Raiders. It's probably a fine enough match, but no Big E. Why is that on pay-per-view? I don't get it. Why is that on premium live event? Tiffany Charlotte, like I said, Jacob Fatu and LA Knight really surprised. There was not a lot of build into that, but everybody was invested in LA Knight, and they went out there and fucking killed it. And if there's one thing that I could really say, and then it was just fucking awesome to see Ray Phoenix wrestling a match at WrestleMania. Like that's just fucking cool. So, I know what the narrative is going to be about this. A lot of people, especially on the AEW side, it's like, yeah, it wasn't a great show, guys. That triple threat to close out the show is going to make this show stand up as as a great WrestleMania night. And if we transition and bookend this tomorrow night with a shock ending, like I think we might be headed towards, we're just gonna be all geeks again and be going all crazy and nerding out because this is why we love this sports entertainment business. This is why. And everybody's just been trying to find ways to doubt WWE because of the lackluster build, because of all this weird MAGA shit that's been weaving its way in, and all this other stuff that's been going on. At the end of the day, we were you guys at some point tonight not entertained? Because you're lying to yourself. There was something on this show for everybody. There was stupid, goofy shit. There was there was feel good moments. There was heartbreak. There was betrayal. There was a young superstar coming into her own. Like this was a good night of wrestling. I've seen far worse WrestleManias than this. And when you have a match like that end the night with Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns, there's no way you can absolutely say that this was a terrible show. So if that's your thought away from this, then you're full of shit. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.